What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Lioneye Watch podcast.
He got it.
You got it? I actually pronounced it correct this time.
Yay! There's a first for everything.
Yeah. I swear I have no idea why my microphone is picking up in the background. I don't know why that is, but you guys probably heard it. Guys, today we're going to talk balance, we're going to talk patch notes, and we're going to talk a lot about the new uniques that we've seen over the past few days. There's a lot of them. I think we have 12 we want to present today. And we're going to head into that. How are you guys doing, PT and Hedgie?
I'm great. I'm a little bit tired from the just staying up and playing a lot, but I'm good.
Same here.
I just got to Dried Lake, so I've got that grind to go through, and I'm like, yay! That's what we need.
Yes.
Dried Lake.
Dried Lake, exactly. Dried Lake is one of those things where you hate and love it. You love it for the ease, and now you can relax. You've gotten to the point where now it starts to take off. But at the same time, you also I wish I could do something else than just do Dried Lake for the next 10, 15 levels and remain as efficient, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's pretty efficient to stay in Dry Lake till like 75, but I ended up just starting to map at 72. I was like, you know what? I'm getting sick of looking at this place.
Yeah.
I need to kill something else.
I typically do the same. And it's pretty cool with the new maps that we now have. Then it's so refreshing. But I think we want to start it out with just quickly presenting what we've been up to the past week here, what build we're playing, things like that, but not too much. We want to get into the balance notes. We want to get into the nitty gritty, the interesting stuff. But PT, how about you just present? What have you been playing?
Well, I decided this time to choose a melee-based build. So, melee adjacent, because I'm doing the Ancestral War Chiefs, which is
nice.
It has a melee tag in it, so that counts, I guess.
Yes.
The main thing was, in doing solo self-found last time with energy shield pieces, the currency it takes to craft energy shield is a bit of a pain that I then can't use like maps or and whatever. So I'm like, all right, let's do something melee. I don't want to deal with the 21 gems. I want to just have fun and craft the most powerful mace that I could. And Essence seems like a fun league for that.
Yes, it's definitely crafting potential. Going solo self-found energy shield would be so much easier this time around, though. But
yeah, I mean,
some of those essences are insane.
This league definitely impacts PT the most. I mean, he's got so many tools to, how much currency. I mean, he's probably way geared out now, and it's way
RNG is RNG.
True.
But getting the resist while leveling, that is fantastic. You're just like, oh no, I need resist on this piece. Click. Oh no, I need resist on this piece. Click. Yay!
And then we're good to go, exactly. What about you, Hedgie?
Well, I usually pick my builds based off of the challenges, and with the patch notes, melee getting some buffs here and there. I think I kind of bit off more than I could chew, and I decided to go melee as my first character to make my currency, get my base up, and I was planning on farming the Uber Lab, but I stepped into the Grotto map, and it has been redone, and I ended up dying because they swapped the normal boss from Grotto, and they made it the Quarry boss, the Chaos Golem. And I ran a rare Grotto, which I shouldn't have done until, I'd done it blue the first time.
Yeah, just give me a sec here. People keep saying you're very, very loud.
Oh, I'm very loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want you to be quiet.
I'll just put my mic a little bit further away. How's that? Is that good?
Makes sense. I think we can deal with that.
All right. It should be fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I ended up making a leaf sweeper. My gear really, really sucked. I mean, more than half of my pieces didn't even have life. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm eager to get rich and then make a lacerator. However, after viewing the Shaper and Guardians, I have my doubts that a melee build is going to be ideal for this case. So I may end up having to, just for that fight, go totems or something, just so I don't have to go toe-to-toe with them.
your best friend decoys on him and then damage. Or just
Well, yeah, I
damage.
mean, that's another thing. I get greedy with Ancestral Protector because it boosts my damage and boosts single target. And I swap out decoy, and then lo and behold, I just died because I got murked.
Yeah, okay. In regards to the volume, guys, we try to adjust to make it as good for you guys, but when you keep saying different things, it's hard for us to adjust it. So
Is mine now too loud?
don't say anything if it's fine. If it's okay, we'll just keep it like it is.
All right, you two can still hear me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I don't know if you guys are using auto adjust or something like that in Skype.
No, I'm not.
Hedges is definitely turning up and down. Have you need to turn it off on your Windows main.
Okay. So then we want to jump right into the patch notes then?
Yeah, I'll quickly tell what I've been up to.
Oh
And
yeah,
then we
sorry.
can go.
We forgot about you in the audio stuff.
Yes.
Nobody cares about you.
Yes, it feels like that.
Blade Vortex, right?
I've been doing Blade Vortex, yeah. I've gone as assassin though, for the ease of leveling. I get all the gems available to me, and I feel like the skill tree is just has more synergy, and of course more damage. I'm playing softcore this time around for the first time in a very long time. It's so refreshing trying that actually. It's really, really fun going in against the bosses and just not knowing what's happening, but not feeling like, oh no, I'm gonna skip this because it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, and you can't. And there's always those bosses where you're like, you don't know what's going to happen, so you don't do it because you don't have the information. Like, this might one-shot me.
Exactly. And I've had a few. I think I have 26 deaths or something like that on my character. So it's pretty good.
Wow, you're racking them up pretty fast.
Yeah, but it's fun. I play very differently when I play in softcore. I'm just very reckless. I guess I don't really care about capping my resists and all that stuff until it just becomes too painful. But yeah. But let's head into some patch note discussion. Project, do you want to start this off?
Well, there was a lot of patch notes. Do we want to go through it in order, or do we want to pick out the more
I think we should
interesting
talk
things?
the most interesting stuff. I don't
Let's
think
pick and
this.
choose.
Yeah,
We have presented the league
the
already in
main
the previous
thing,
podcast.
the main thing that I was very surprised to actually see was the frost wall nerf. They finally removed that, and this has been a problem for years. Any kinetic blast wander, any explosive arrow knew how you could easily cheese it. And until Pierce support gem became very popular with Lightning Arrow and a whole bunch of other builds, that interaction became more well known. But this has been a problem for a long time, and you can't work around it because it's just like you get projectile damage times 50. Okay.
It didn't feel as cheesy until Pierce really started to get. I feel like actually it worked pretty well until people start to use Pierce with it when it just got super OP with something like Lightning Arrow. But before that, I actually think it was a pretty interesting mechanic that you could throw up the wall and have your projectiles bounce off of that. Now you have to find something else. I'm really happy I'm not playing Kinetic Blast and have to deal with the single target. It's the worst single target I've ever tried.
That's the thing. I'm like, I feel good about it and I feel bad about it because I feel like it was definitely warranted for Lightning Arrow. I mean, that was like one of the most abusable things with the walls. But Kinetic Blast now really feels like shit in a wide open area for single target damage. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Kinetic Blast has always been very competent with its single target. The only difference is before you could literally just use a 2 or 3 link and clear tier 15s or tier 14s bosses. Now you actually have to invest into a competent one so that you overcome that single target need. And you still have Barrage if you're Fizz, you still have Frenzy. Wanderers have had really high single target damage for a while, but it's just when you compared it to the Frost Wall single target option, they never compared. Why would you ever do anything but that?
But the thing is, like, while it is insane for certain bosses, like, the more the boss moves around, like, the more mobile he is, it becomes harder and more annoying. And I thought that was kind of like the trade-off. While a boss that just sits there and stands still, yeah, it's pretty easy. And
I don't know, especially when they got Cluster Trap. Cluster Trap just locked every boss perfectly still, and you're like, yay, go team.
But I mean, the top 3 most affected classes would be Lightning Arrow, Kinetic Blast, and EA. Also used to use that as an option. Personally, I just pick a second bow and I focus more on single target ignition damage with different links.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I overcome, in a wide open area. But as a wanderer, you're not going to swap your chest. You have one 6-link. And I don't know how I would feel with using like a single target barrage on a 4-link.
I tried that before. It doesn't feel too good. I don't think so.
From my experience with a pretty diesel wand, like 180 DPS with like really, really good crit chance, it was pretty lackluster on a lot of fights. Felt very, very vulnerable.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of people just shoving like a decoy totem beside a wall so the boss just meanders over to its death.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah. With the new bosses coming out here, there's definitely going to be some frustrated wanders. That's for sure. I feel like Lightning Arrow builds is probably not going to feel too much of a downside compared to it. But Lightning Arrow before, you could use Blast Rain, you could use so many other stuff. You had that 6-link available or another 5-link things like that. But with the wanders, it's definitely pretty devastating.
Well, it is a huge shift to when we're talking about old Path of Exile, new, and where if a skill can use its 6-link setup, and that 6-link setup can continue to also be your single target damage, that's a very absurd advantage. You don't need the second 6-link. You don't need, even if you could get the second 6-link, you don't need to actually pay for the currency for it. So that's always a huge advantage for any skill that can take one 6-link and do everything with it.
Yeah.
Or 5-link, whatever.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there are just some skills that perform in that role, like Cyclone for melee, and then you have Earthquake for melee, and Flame Blast. They're just like a 2-in-1 type skill. It does your AoE and your single target. Whereas Wanderers are a bit more limited, but Frostwall was one of the saving graces for the single target, and even then it didn't work as consistently, and sometimes bosses are just really fast or annoying or blink, among other things.
Or have lightning thorns. That was the end of my wander.
That's a great way to take you out. And I mean, that's a good downside. It hits a lot of times.
Have you guys played around with Cast and Crit yet? Tried any of that?
No, but I've checked out a lot of videos.
Definitely. What's your impression?
Gameplay. It still looks strong. I mean, they've tinkered with the numbers enough, and I think they have it in a pretty good spot.
So I guess, just to preface this, the change is that Cast on Crit now has a 500 millisecond cooldown, whereas before it was 50 milliseconds.
It is, however, per skill.
It is per skill, yeah.
And if you have multiple skills, it will save the order, so it will always go spell A to spell B to spell C, and then back to A at the end, and it will never reset.
And it also has a 100% chance to cast Wind Crit, and it also has a 39% more spell damage multiplier at level 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
But, I mean, despite some of the benefits of it, it's still a pretty big nerf we're seeing here, right?
I mean...
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt it's a nerf.
Yeah, it's a nerf.
Right. Wait, no, nobody is saying it wasn't nerfed.
I think there was a few people who did some math on it as well, and typically, depending on the setups and all that stuff, they typically came to the conclusion you're pretty much having like 3% of the damage you had before with the Cast on Crit or something like that. But then again, Cast on Crit was
3% of unlimited turns out to be a pretty good number.
Turns out it's pretty good. The thing I feel, though, from what I've seen in the videos, right now it looks like it's so much more competitive with regular self-casting abilities. I'm not sure. I think in many cases I would simply go self-cast from the videos I've seen, because people say you're not investing anything by going into Cast and Crit, but that's not really true. Even if you are going Assassin and getting a bunch of free crit via that, it's not really free, because it means you're choosing the Assassin. You didn't choose another Ascendancy that buffed you, right? So,
thank you for saying that.
sorry, come again.
I said thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I definitely right now I'm not. I think it's the investment costs compared to what I've seen doesn't really look that appealing to me. I'm sure there's gonna be some cool setups people will figure out, but self-casting definitely looks much more attractive now because of this. And I guess this maybe was the intention from GGGs as well.
They're definitely on a comparable level, regardless if you want to say it's a little bit weaker or a little bit stronger. They are on a comparable tier where before it was no cast on crit's better.
Yeah. I mean, if you can have 30 casts per second instead of 3 or 4, then it's pretty easy, right?
And if it ends up being balanced in a position where it's really a question, would you prefer to self-cast or would you prefer to use an attack and get your spell animations through it? That would be a success. Like that.
Yeah.
That is a balanced success.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily a good idea from GGG's side, because cast on crit is the type of skill when people see that, if they're new to the game, they're like, fuck, I need to try this. This looks insane. And people want to do that. Now it doesn't have the same appeal anymore, of course, but...
I still think it looks pretty crazy, especially when you use all the projectiles.
Especially when you use all the MTX.
It seems to be the best way to be triggering elemental equilibrium outside of trappers. Because you now have the guaranteed order rotation, it means it's an excellent choice for elemental equilibrium.
But it also means you can't run heralds.
I've seen some people say that, and I guess that it's true. It's much more reliable right now. But elemental equilibrium was sick with cast and crit before as well, just because of all the rapid hits.
It was, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, the old version was still just the best at everything.
Yeah.
Looking at the popular skills, we have Arctic Breath, that's 35% more damage, base damage. Fireball, 50% more. Ice Spear, 70% more. So, I mean, that combined with the more spell damage multiplier on the actual COC gem, I think it definitely packs a punch, which makes me wonder how this actually performs against Reflect. Because before, I had no issues with Reflect. I couldn't even feel it because I had enough life gain on hit and Duelist Leech. But now it might be a different story. Maybe I have to worry about Reflect, or I'll take some bursts.
They did, of course, also make it so that the Socketed Gems with cast and crit is gaining more damage as well to make up for the less rapid casting of it.
Well, with the exception of Discharge. Discharge got special treatment.
Yeah. Sure.
I talking about that, so they actually did, for the first time that I know of, Discharge having a nerf specifically when it's in triggers, not a general nerf.
Yeah.
That was very, very odd to me.
It's a new type of balancing, right?
Yeah, but is that a good tool for them to be playing around with? That's the question.
It just makes
when they have different numbers in PvP, it makes sense, because it's like, okay, you don't want to ruin PvE balance for PvP. Fantastic. The whole point of the cast on crit is kind of to circumvent, but then if you're going to give it different numbers, it's like, wait, okay. Interesting.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's definitely a different way of balancing, and but honestly, if it means that the skill can be more competitive, if it means that it isn't super OP without having to ruin Discharge's self-cast potential, then it's probably for the better, right?
Yeah. I definitely think it was nice for them not to shit on self-cast Discharge, which does struggle more, and them to have it. But it was just a weird design choice that it was like, wait, you could have done this a lot sooner with cast on crit, and then not even a changed cast on crit, and just gave skills different trigger coefficients. It's essentially a less multiplier then.
True.
It was weird.
It seems like a mechanic that easily could have been
implemented
changed
a long time ago. But this is kind of a win-win for them, because it puts less stress on the machine, and
Yeah.
how the game runs. So it's like, well, let's just reduce how many times it procs and it.
Honestly, it seems like that was the main reason
Yeah.
for most behind the nerf.
Well, yeah, the Blade Vortex being toned down to 20 maximum stacks, Frost Wall, because that was caused huge amounts of extra hits, and then the Cast on Crit, which were the largest, basically like animation creation skills.
Yeah. Have you guys felt the performance improvements?
Yeah, for sure, I have.
Yep, they're there.
Especially with the Burning Ground. I did a Burning Ground map, and it was just like so far ahead of what I'm used to.
Yeah, that's definitely where I see it the most. And corrupting, what is it? Desecrated Ground. As well. I always liked it, and I want to try running a graveyard or something like that. I always have banned FPS in that, but I haven't tried it out yet. You guys want to jump into the damage increases of the spells here?
Okay. But
Yeah, the skills, yeah.
Glacial Hammer, obviously, the new meta.
It's definitely the new meta.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, guys, just drop everything you know about Path of Exile, Glacial Hammer, till 2.5.
The problem is that Glacial Hammer is now the new Earthquake.
Yes.
Like, why would you go anything else than Glacial Hammer?
Exactly.
I don't know how they came up with that number.
I don't
Drugs.
Drugs. Wow.
Not only does it deal the best damage in the game, it also has the best area of effect, and it freezes. I mean,
Not uniques.
I was telling my viewers, I was like, they could increase this number to 50% and people still won't use it. Like, it's just like,
yeah.
there are like fundamental problems with the skill that prevents people from like wanting to use it.
Yes.
And I mean, we saw that they made another melee splash improvement that doesn't include AoE. So it's like less damage penalty. Name locking should be rewarded with like a lot of reward, like insane amounts of deeps. Otherwise, people just won't use it. They'll just use
When they originally spoiled Fortify, I thought that the easiest solution was going to make Fortify on name lock only skills, because then you're only getting a defensive advantage on the skills that are punished the absolute most. That would have made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then no, we just have basically spells that are called melee skills.
Mm-hmm. I think we're just moving away from name locking. I don't think it will be used as something that needs to have extra reward or anything like that. It would make sense if it should get extra reward, but I think we're just moving away from it.
But then is the answer just essentially deleting all the old name lock skills?
See, I think that they could adjust the numbers in a very generous way until they come out with some new tech to change the way you play with single target melee skills and melee splash.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's no reason that it should be like ignored by the majority of the community. I mean, there should be some appeal.
6%. I'm sorry, I'm sold.
I'm sold. Yeah.
I have a feeling the numbers. I'm pretty sure that they didn't sit down and think, oh, Glacial Hammer needs 6%. I'm pretty sure they have some kind of algorithm, something that just compares the different skills and says this approximately needs this to be in line with what the other skills are dealing in damage, like on a very, very, basic level.
Related to Glacial Hammer, they, gave Slayer a 20% cull. Why would it be so broken if Glacial Hammer had the cull special effect also on unique mobs?
What? Come again? Can you say that again?
So Glacial Hammer has if you hit a frozen mob that's on low life, or was it less than 35%, it has cull.
Yep.
It's nobody really remembers that because nobody plays Glacial Hammer because it's shit. But that modifier doesn't work on unique mobs, and that kind of made sense when when everything was so slow that name lock was used.
Mm-hmm.
But in the current state, with a 20% cull available on the Slayers, would that really be something when builds are already one-shotting unique mobs?
That's a good point. But I guess this is where it just seems like these name-locking skills here are outdated.
Yes.
That's simply just it. They belong to a different Path of Exile. that we played some years ago.
And more damage is not the problem with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like, some of them do insane damage. Viper Strike is an absurd amount of damage, and it's just not good enough.
And then you have the Wild Strike that does everything. Everything. It's projectiles, area of effect, explosions, and what else? Freezing, all that stuff. But it's still not what it doesn't feel good. Yeah.
It's a shame because like when you have these awesome encounters, like these boss revamps, and they've gone away with, bosses that stand still. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of, cues, and a lot of devastating hits, which are fine, but if you're sitting toe-to-toe with a dude and you're stuck in multi-strike with your name lock skill, and guess what? The Shaper does Kamehameha, you're gone. It's like, why should you be so punished?
What wins, Touch of God or multi-strike Glacial Hammer? Turns out, Touch of God.
Well, it's a shame though, because some of the skills are pretty cool. And skills such as, we'll get to that, but Static Strike, for instance, got some nice buffs. But
16% more damage and area of effect.
20% more area of effect at level 20. It's definitely worth taking into consideration, but you also had the damage reduction to less duration. So, and you would use that, right? So it's effectively it's probably a 10% buff or something like that.
Yeah.
Damage wise, but the 20%, if you went Static Strike, Slayer, scaled area of effect, you can get a pretty sick amount of area of effect on Static Strike.
That's actually one of the ones that's underrated because nobody plays name lock skills.
It's super underrated.
The Slayer on top of Static Strike gives you the melee splash, even though you're actually taking that node for the increased area of effect of the explosions. And so it ends up being just a really efficient and interesting node.
Static Strike was pretty good, even like when it was released.
Static Strike had to get nerfed. It used to be the flagship of melee. It was the, oh my god, this is broken.
Yeah.
And look at it now.
For over half your screen, like it was massive, and that's a great example of when name locking is worth it, because you go in, you do something risky, but the reward is you explode all over the screen and you get great damage.
Hedgy.
Oh my.
Please. This
now,
is
if we could
a
see some of
children's
that,
show.
we could see some of that treatment or like some unique mechanics that reward name locking in these other skills that begin to step in the right direction.
Well, we have like Static Strike, which is the low end of name locking that's playable. We have Infernal Blow, and because of the area of effect it's always been a fairly competent skill. Well, maybe not always, but it's currently competent. Then you have Flicker, which not everybody likes, but it gives you a tool to get into name lock range. Frostblades is definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but Frostblades, because of the extreme extended weapon range, the name locking really you don't feel it.
No. It's basically a ranged melee skill.
Yeah. And those are skills that have managed to achieve working by giving you some kind of quality of life, area of effect benefit. They're able to make you want to play name lock. And then you have skills where you have Glacial Hammer, you have Double Strike, you have Viper Strike, you have Vigilant Strike, you have Heavy Strike, and these are essentially the same skill. They don't play differently, even if you might build the tree slightly differently. It is all, walk up, hit the thing, realize your skill is shit, and reroll.
Yeah. I think one of the issues with, now that you mentioned Frost Blades, it reminds me that one of the issues there is with something like Wild Strike as well, for instance, is that the single target sucks. And again, then you have name locking and single target sucks. You're not going to play it then. But I don't know how you would fix that, because you would have to use a different skill. And I guess maybe, I can't figure out what the design intent is for GGG, if they want people to use two different skills, a single target setup and an area clear setup. What do you guys think?
I think there are different different motivations behind making skill. If something is going to be a great AoEer, it shouldn't be a great single target skill. But you have like the universal ones, like I went over, Cyclone, Flame Blast, those skills that do it all, Earthquake, things that are sufficient on one 6-link. But you have something like Sweep, which is a very good AoE skill, often underrated, but it's a horrible single target. Even if you conk effect it, it doesn't feel great. So you make the choice of getting, okay, I want a strong single target now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're left with, well, do I want a name block? Do I want a multi-strike and risk dying because I'm stuck in animation?
And then you're stuck trying to justify why the hell to play Sweep over Earthquake when you even need 2 6-links when Earthquake is like, her-da-dur-da-dur.
Sweep is pretty good, though. I feel like
it
is kind of underrated, but the problem, still is that Earthquake is amazing.
And though it was nerfed in damage and area of effect and cost, it's still some of the best melee. Like, you've got Shield Charge, you've got Ancestral War Chief, and you've got Earthquake.
Ice Crash is pretty solid as well.
Ice Crash was buffed quite a bit, too.
Yep, it was. Let's see if we can pull up the numbers here. It was a damage buff.
Yeah, the tiered damage penalties were reduced, and I can't remember if they gave
less, down from 25, and then its secondary stage damage penalty is now 15% less, down from 20. So, and its third stage damage penalty is now 30% less, down from 40.
Yeah.
So, it was a pretty solid buff here, and it's already a solid skill.
Mm-hmm.
And see, and the way I kind of, compare Sweep, Earthquake, and Ice Crash, things that are like great AoE skills, is Sweep and Earthquake are very similar, but it mainly comes with the itemization. When I end up finding like a really fast axe or a fast two-hander, I'm probably going to want to Sweep because, diminishing returns with Earthquake, the attack speed. But if I find a really slow two-hander with a, very, very high top end, then I'm going to alternate between using Earthquake and Sweep, especially, leveling up. That's what I've been doing right now. Mm-hmm. Sometimes Sweep is better for the situation because you get an instant, you get instant gratification. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, I get what you mean,
Yeah, instant satisfaction. You see the mob just die as soon as you Sweep. With Earthquake, you have that delay.
Yeah.
So there are possibilities where Sweep can clear faster than Earthquake, but, the itemization is different. The only problem I have with Ice Crash is it's not pure fizz, so it doesn't get the leech gains. And, the leech gains with both mana and life are pretty devastating. And I feel like you can achieve a chill anyways with Hatred or acid damage taken Arctic Breath, that it's kind of unnecessary.
I mean, with your staff, Ice Crash works with the staves, right?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be fun to make an Ice Crash crit with your staff, Hedgie, just for the freeze effect.
Yeah, it could. One of my favorite things about Ice Crash is that it's like the Earthquake of two-handed swords. You can't EQ with a sword, so it's the next best thing.
Yeah.
I think I had a larger issue with when you talk about melee weapons, that these swords, the axe and the maces, there's sometimes a skill requirement difference, but the passive trees, I don't feel there's a meaningful enough difference between the weapons.
No, I don't think so either, because, I will typically not choose swords because I go Resolute Technique. So I feel like the implicit accuracy or maybe the crit multiplier is sometimes wasted with the way you typically build a melee tree. There's, of course, alternatives, but I agree, it would be really nice if there were bigger differences, especially now that you can pretty much get Onslaught on everything else, whereas where you felt that
Silver
axes were
Flask.
really cool. Yeah. Axes were cool before because you get Onslaught. That was so fucking nice when you were playing Cyclone, for instance. But now that...
Okay.
And Mace's AoE, you already have a lot of AoE.
Going back to what PT was saying, would you ever play Sweep with Marohi?
No.
See, that's how I feel. I would never play Sweep with Marohi because Sweep really shines was when you can stack attack speed to get into the middle of the pack and then go off. Mm-hmm. If you're actually like physically running into the pack to get to the middle and then sweeping, that, in my opinion, that's super inefficient. And why use Sweep at that point?
Can't you sweep with maces anyways?
You can, but I mean, it's so slow. Like,
yeah. I optimally, if you had the sickest gear on an Earthquake compared to a Sweeper, the Sweeper would probably be faster for general map clear, right? Yeah.
But I would use sweep with like the Solaris Maul or whatever, like the increase area effect Solaris Maul with the increase area effect on the tree and the Cull Node if I stun. Oh yeah, I would sweep with that mace. The Merohi, well, really, I would always be trying to get rid of the Merohi as quick as possible because I've pressed leap with Merohi and oh dear God, I want to kill myself.
Yes.
Leap. Oh no, what is this?
It's not that good of a feeling. That's true. It's a great starter weapon though. Great.
Yeah.
It can pretty much take you all the way.
It's like the staple
game.
EQ weapon. I mean,
Yeah, it gives you what you need to start. It gives you a whole bunch of damage. It gives you the +1 link. It scales really well with the non-multi-strike. Yeah, it's a fantastic starter.
Let's talk about the spells, guys. So we saw that Fireball got a 50% damage increase, more damage. Ice Spear 70%, and Arctic Breath got 35% more damage. So the first thing I thought when I was looking at this was, that's the skills you use for cast on crits. is this how you would change or make it viable? But
Well,
what
I
do you
did
guys think?
remember interview that Ziggy actually showed with, I think it wasn't Jonathan, sorry, Carl? I might have...
yeah,
think-
Carl. The
yeah,
most
Carl.
recent one? Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that one of the reasons these skills were weaker is because they couldn't make them strong because of cast on crit projectiles. It was the go-to.
Okay.
That was nice.
Nice,
And we all know that cast on crit was so limiting to spells' strength because you could never let cast on crit break them even more than they already do.
Especially the projectile-based ones. Yep. Yeah. Are you guys, based on this, were you considering, did you get any ideas, or did this seem appealing to you to use one of these skills now?
Yeah, I mean, Fireball was one of them with the Ink AoE support, or the unique jewels that...
Yeah.
Rolling Flames.
Yeah, that definitely seems more appealing. However, Fireball on a 6-link is still super expensive. It's like 70 mana per cast with GMP. And I mean, that's a huge cost. You're going to have some sick mana regen or EBZO, things like that. So,
Have you guys made a caster recently that's not Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath?
Yeah, I made that Contagion Duelist.
Yeah, okay, well, Contagion, AD Contagion.
You don't count that?
Other than the efficient casting spells, have you made a casting?
Any traditional caster then, something that has to cast a spell more than one time a minute.
Flame Blast. Yeah, anything that needs to stand still and chain cast, they're always... It's one of the reasons it's so much of an advantage to play a skill that you click once and everything dies, because you don't need to itemize enough mana regen so that you have to stand still. The Essence Drain Contagion character that I did to 97, finally killed it to core, the only time I had to get a single point on mana regen on the tree, and it had a level 21 gem, 6 link, low life, it was everything, it was only for Uber-Itzuri, because Uber-Itzuri there was an advantage to make sure that you could chain cast for a very short period of time. And that was the only fight that I ever even considered mana regen on the entire tree. And I was like, yeah this is a bit too efficient.
Yeah. I've grown to hate the Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath. I didn't like it too much in the beginning, but I tried it out, and it turned out to be all right. But I just feel like that combination right now makes every skill tree so boring, because it's the same thing you build over and over. And I also think it's not for new players coming into the game. And I've seen this based on the feedback on some of my guides that I do. Any guide that uses Eldritch Battery, that combination EBCO, Mind Over Matter, newer players have a much harder time playing those builds, because it is a fairly advanced mechanic. What I feel is the problem with that. I think it's cool to have advanced mechanics, but if you pretty much make it the only thing casters use, or it's not the only thing, but you guys get what I mean. It's the main thing you build around. Then, you're pretty much alienating such a large group of the player base, because it seems clunky, it's difficult to understand, and it's so much harder to gear and prepare your builds for. So I really feel like we need something else that either makes it, I don't know, we need something else for defenses, for casters, for the game.
I think
I kind of feel that way, but as far as like getting the gear, it's easy. It's knowing what you need that's the tricky part.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single time I've made an EBZO character, it was super easy and super cheap, but I knew exactly what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And with the ascendancies, man, all those particular characters or those crit casters, they all run really, really smoothly, almost effortlessly. The only problem I run into is maybe doing the lab. The lab is
lab with foul pact. What the fuck?
Yeah. And again, that's a very, very it's very demotivating. Telling someone, guys, you probably can't do lab with this, or you'll have to be like level 90 or something like that, 85 before you do it on fucking normal. You get my point. I really think that it's so many people want to play casters, but it's just not fun when you then get to level 55 and you have no damage mitigation, or you've spec'd into Eldritch Battery, Mind Over Matter, and Zealot's Oath, but you have no energy shield anymore because you're taking damage and you have no idea how you're supposed to sustain this. Or you need to use a Stone Golem together with the Zealot's Oath because that will regen. You need to have a large pool and so forth, and it's just so much more complicated.
Well, mana-based MOM is on the rise. I mean, you can do that, but I feel like there's a certain point where you feel like you get punished by map mods.
The problem with like Mind Over Matter ones is it's fairly reliable and high end on Vinctors because of the Vinctors mana regen.
Yeah,
and that's an expensive bargain.
Mm-hmm. I like how it is thematically. I think it's cool thematically.
Yeah. What were you saying? Sorry, Hedgie, though. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, that's just pretty much like we've seen these new uniques, these new tools, mana buffs, on the ascendancy trees. It's definitely an option. You can definitely cast it on mana now. However, once you get to yellow tier maps and you're running 60% reduced mana regen or no regen, then how does your character really feel at that point? You're just like, damn, this is appearing all the time. I even have a prophecy that reduces my mana regen, and I just tweaked it so that I can sustain my 6th link. I mean,
the issue that I find that is maybe what creates the problem when I look at what is giving us a defense, I find the issue is more so that the defense that we use on our build is almost completely irrelevant to our offense that we've specifically chosen. Now, there are a couple exceptions to that, but you almost get your staple defense options depending on where you are on the tree, regardless of the skills you're using. And because of that, then there's just the normal efficiency tier of defenses where, which one's the best, that's the most expensive. Then you have your budget one, and then you have your third, like, okay, it does work if you want to do something different.
Yeah.
But since it's not dependent on your main skill, you're still always stuck by choosing those three. You're not choosing one because you're like, oh, this would be a cool defense on my build. It's just like, oh, I never have an extra option. One thing that I really enjoyed about Essence Drain is that Essence Drain gives you that, insane regen, so I felt I was gaining something defensively from using a skill rather than just one-shotting everything.
Yeah.
But you're also gaining movement speed. I mean, mobility, not movement speed.
Yeah.
I think maybe this could be partly an ascendancy problem as well. The thing about being locked into specific types of defenses in the tree, because the these different ascendancies just buff certain types of defense so very well, and these defenses are of course thematically fitting in the skill tree, which is also one of the reasons why Essence Drain is pretty cool, because you can choose a lot of different ascendancies and then build it very differently. There's a lot of different Essence Drain builds. So while I really think the ascendancies are cool, they do kind of lock you in place, at least when it comes to defenses.
Yeah, a good example becomes like some of the armor ones, some of the block ones, and or if you're doing a CI build, then it's just like, well, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, especially something like the Witch as well.
Oh, the occultist.
Yeah. I'm going armor with this. That'd be hipster. I'd like to see that. But back to the spells. Fireball, 50% damage increase is definitely... and Fireball seemed decent, all right. Or before, Sis did a build with it, and it did
Val
very
Fireball.
well. Yeah, Vol Fireball with regular Fireball.
They took out the Frost Wall, though, so now it's one more skill that doesn't have that awesome single target.
Yeah, true.
And that was the huge thing.
By buffing Fireball, they did not also indirectly buff Vol Fireball, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so they are separate. They don't use the same.
They usually do. Or sorry, I might have heard you slightly incorrectly. I'm under the impression that the Valve Fireball was buffed, but I'd have to double check.
Okay. I don't know. Ice Spear, 70% more damage. Ice Spear feels pretty AIDS to me to use, so I'm not sure if it would change anything.
If you're using 2 snake pit rings that we discussed before, toss on the flask that we might discuss later, and I'm sure that thing will just rip everything apart.
Yeah, maybe.
It doesn't have an advantage. That's the problem with it. Like, why would you do Ice Spear over any other projectile? Yeah. The crit? Well, they made it so everything can go crit as a joke. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the problems with Ice Spear is it's one of the most expensive skills to self-cast.
Yep. 27 base.
Yeah.
And that,
mostly it's 200 on a 6-link.
And you kind of want Pierce for the second phase as well as... And so the Pierce that it gains is only for the first phase. The second phase doesn't have the Pierce, so you still need to invest into the Pierce, which feels like wasted itemization, an entirely useless first phase. And then you don't have the crit bonus for the first phase, so you have to itemize both the crit for the first phase and the Pierce for the second phase, and it just is like, well... What benefit did I just fucking get?
Yeah. I mean, you can make it work, just like PT says. Yeah. You have to put a lot of investment into it, and then at the end of the day, are you happy with the result?
The question is if maybe the design intent is to have Ice Spear just as a single target skill.
Well, it's a pretty shit single target skill, so no. The problem is its projectile speed. Like, such a thin range projectile speed, using it for a single target, sure, it's great if a mob is standing still, but as soon as a mob has the slightest mobility, would I feel comfortable doing, like, Atziri Trio with Ice Spear? Oh, God, no.
Would you ever use Ice Spear over Flame Surge?
I don't want to use either of those skills.
Flame Surge actually feels alright, I think. If you're already... playing a build, a spellcaster that is upfront. I used it on my Ice Nova build. It actually feels pretty good there. But I don't think I would actually use Ice Spear, because then I would have to position myself all the time. That's the problem with it.
Cole needs a kind of a all-star single target. They still do.
The history of Ice Spear is actually quite interesting, because its initial intent way back in the day was to use it with PCOC to supply charges for your Spork Totems. And that was like a really cool way, because you had a very high crit chance and it was harder to get power charges back then.
Oh, yeah.
Spork Totems were, amazing. So that was definitely Ice Spear's time to shine. And then ever since then, it's kind of been like, you see it in Cast on Crit. It was really, really insane with Barrage. Until they nerfed that. But I mean, I would like to see a reason to self-cast Ice Spear, and I think mainly needs to come down with a drastic mana cost reduction.
Yeah, I don't think they keep the mana costs in mind enough, because a skill could be definitely weaker than the meta, but by giving it such an unrestricted mana cost, it can have then that niche. And the opposite ends up happening. The amazing skills have extremely low, easily bypassable costs, whereas the terrible skills, you look at Dominating Blow and it's like, oh yeah, good thing Dominating Blow costs an arm and a leg. It would be a shame if someone wants to play a shit build. And Dominating Blow can do some interesting things, but I could never figure out why they put so many walls in front of Dominating Blow for no reason.
It's
Well-
it's probably just one of those skills that needs to be looked over again. I'm sure they would reduce the mana cost of it if they compared it to the ones now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But we also have this is where the fun melee skill changes have been changed. I'm just gonna read them aloud, then we're gonna talk about them. Cleave 19% more damage, sweep 15, ground slain 15, sunder 9, viper strike 11, double strike 13, heavy strike 5, glacial hammer 6, dominating blow 6, frost blades 15, lightning strike 9. And let's just stop there, and then we're going to talk about the other ones afterwards. What was your initial thoughts here, guys?
Well, we kind of already talked about all of these. The problem is then they buffed monster life. So, yay. It's about the same. Thanks, guys.
It probably doesn't feel too different.
Personally, I feel like Ground Slam needs way more than just 15. It's a conal attack. It's not like very easy to use. It gets punished by a lot of multi-strike action. And yeah, it does come with some stun mechanics. I still think that Ground Slam 15% could have been 45, 40, and it would then be somewhat competitive to other melee skills. As far as Heavy Strike, 5%, I'm guessing they're too scared to put this number up higher because of the chance to get double damage jewel. On Heavy Strike, is it like 5% or 10?
It's 10, I think.
And you can get like 2 or 3 of those. So I think they were very conservative there.
But I mean, why not just go crit then?
Why not
double
go
strike?
What? You can go crit Heavy Strike. Yeah, I mean, I've done that before. It's quite good. You can get like 265k DPS without the double.
Thing is, name lock, as we discussed before.
Name lock has its penalty, and more often than not, I'm willing to take a huge DPS hit for mobility. So I'll use a Cyclone, which is far less DPS, but it allows me to, dodge conal attacks and a lot of other things, and chill the boss with chilled ground because I'm running AA. So,
what about Viper Strike, Kenji? You've been playing
Viper Strike. I was surprisingly. I mean, I feel like it's kind of crutched behind Benos. It does offer the poison, which then can spread, which gives you some pseudo AOE. So there is hope there, but it's still gated around Benos, like one specific item, which I think is kind of meh.
Yeah, an entire skill.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways to achieve AoE, much like, Benos poison, and you don't have to necessarily put it on the weapon. And I think, these skills kind of need that. But Viper Strike on a 4-link, man, I was melting T14, T15 bosses.
Okay.
With my
Well, Viper Strike has
assassin.
always had great single target. It's just name locking, and when a mob moves, what you lose defensively, you'd have no mobility because of it.
But
I felt like it was good because I could touch and go. Like I would drop 2 or 3 slices and then I would whirl out and the boss would just melt as I'm running around. So I felt like it was kind of like the Essence Drain, but still way riskier because I actually had to go physically melee the boss.
Yeah.
So there's, it's better than most single target melee skills because it does have stuff like Benos to help it with, proliferating its poison.
Okay.
And it comes with regen benefits and things like that. It's still gated around that unique.
we also saw that Reef now has 12% more damage, and its space area effect has been increased by 21. And then
at easiest way to do it, at no stacks it has more area of effect. At max val stacks it has slightly less.
Yeah, so it's not too much of a change we're seeing here besides the extra damage, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still a great skill. It's a way to get a lot of AoE, be pretty safe, as long
Probably
as that's your playstyle.
Probably the best melee skill when it comes to it.
I don't know about that.
Well,
Depends
for one
on the
hand,
layout.
sure.
I feel like for when we're talking like pure clear speed, if we don't take defenses or anything like that into consideration, I don't see anything really competing with Reef. A good Reeve crit dagger build, it's just insane.
I think you would do crit swords now because daggers. Yeah.
Swords definitely can work as well.
I would agree to a certain extent, but I think it's highly dependent on map layout. Like, if you try to play a Reaver in Residence, I mean, your stacks fall off all the time, even if you're willing at the speed of light.
Yeah.
You still have to open doors, get around, go upstairs. You know, losing your Vol Reave is kind of a pain in the ass.
So I guess the question then is, since we can see that Lacerate has also received a buff with 30% less attack speed drawback, would you go Lacerate over Reeve in any situation? Like,
I know Hedgie would.
I like Lacerate because you keep your AoE, you don't lose it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that worth it?
Yeah. For somebody like me that likes to pick up stuff and just like not whiz past smaller orbs or good rares, I think it's definitely really good.
Reeve does force you into playing in such a way that you're looting minimally and you're interacting minimally. You
it's kind
have
of like
to push.
the Vol Spark mentality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I played Reeve. I did a Beano's Reeve most recently, I think in like 2.1 or whatever, and it is fantastic. Nobody's saying that it's strong, but it is a playstyle that you can't let your stacks fall off constantly. Have to reval Reeve. You have to be like, I'm going into a map, I'm clearing the map, then I'll pay attention to shit again.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. That's one of the things I really like about Reeve is that it does have its own mechanic. Yeah.
It's one of the funniest melee skills I've ever played with, or most fun melee skills I've played with.
It does break that rule of whole melee in quotations.
It feels... I just kind of enjoy the very agile, very fast-paced, typical melee build you do at the left side of the tree, rather than the slower armor-based
You screwed up your left and right.
Yes, I'm left and right blind, so I do that all the time. I'm sorry. And one of the big things that were changed, Blade Vortex now has a stack limit of 20. Before you could stack it up to 50 blades, and it now deals 63% more damage at level 20.
Everybody's playing Blade Vortex.
Yes, but originally people, when they saw this, they thought, oh shit, Blade Vortex has been nerfed. But when the truth is, if you've played a Blade Vortex character before, then you know that for general map clearing or for general bosses, anything you don't precast, then this is a buff. Because you don't always run around with 50 stacks. You rarely run around with more than 20 when it comes to it. If you have really, really good cast speed and really invested into increased duration, then maybe between 20 and 30. But typical melee or Blade Vortex builds, it's just around that number. So you basically just got a buff. But sorry, go ahead.
Even when people compare like the max stack scenario, you have to remember that you can now achieve the max cast speed allowed. And if you're achieving the max cast speed, this allows you to drop things like Spell Echo. This allows you to drop things like faster casting once you hit gear levels. This allows you to have more multipliers in your gear. And you can, in theory, then push a higher tooltip DPS. And make it easier to sustain and reset it. So it is very, very, very powerful. And yes, everybody's playing it for a very obvious reason. The only thing to keep in mind is high-end Blade Vortex builds are quite dependent on unique flasks. And a lot of people have missed that and are going to get very, very sad when they try to really push their build.
Yes. That's why one of the reasons I didn't go Pathfinder myself as well. Like the flasks are still going to be good. Sorry, go ahead. Hedgie, you were low.
I was just saying it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 build.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. Well, it should be said, of course, that the reason people go Blade Vortex is not necessarily just because of the change here. It's also because Blade Vortex is a solid starter build in the sense that you can level with it. It deals good damage, and it's amazing for killing bosses. And this is the expansion, the boss expansion. So it's the main reason why I picked it, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, we will laugh at you when you have to buy flasks. And your your noob-friendly budget build is going to get very, very sad.
I'm not gonna make one of those. I've already realized that.
You're halfway through, you're like, well, I can't do this.
Yeah, fuck this. This is gonna be super, super expensive.
And it's just going to get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
All
An
right.
interesting change that's been made as well. I haven't tested this out myself, but I'm curious if you guys. Magma Orb can now be affected by projectile speed modifications.
I haven't actually chatted with anybody who has used it because I wasn't sure if that shortens the animation time. Thus, the animation completes
Increases the
sooner.
hang time.
It
Floats in the air with slower proj.
Okay, so yeah, it increases or decreases the animation time. That's what it does.
It still allows you to achieve multiple hits with like slower proj.
Yeah, but what I was saying is it doesn't. Area of effect separates the distance between landing, and projectile speed doesn't. It just changes the animation speed.
So it doesn't mean that we now have better explosion overlapping. Is that what you're saying? Between the bounces of the...
If it's just changing the animation, then no.
Yeah, it's to achieve multiple hits, in close range and stuff. But what I've read some comments on Reddit, people were complaining that like picking up the acceleration shrine makes your magma go off the screen and it hits nothing. It's just like you're like, what the hell? How am I supposed to kill anything with this shrine?
Magma Orb is actually it's kind of I'm happy they did this because it was kind of lame that it wasn't affected by projectile speed before, because since it is a projectile, right?
Yeah.
It actually deals a pretty nice amount of damage, and I think maybe it is a little underrated skill. But I mean, I'm not sure if this changes too much.
Well, it also got a nerf. One of the best ways I found to use Magma Orb is putting it on a crit trapper and achieving the ignite. But recently they nerfed the ignite support gem, so it no longer double dips with the DOT.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a huge blow. Like I was able to one-shot so many bosses with my 4-link Magma Orb trap.
Yeah.
Well, Magma Orb has always done, well, not always. Magma Orb has been like buffed over and over again, and it's at a point where people can do a pretty absurd damage with it. The issue ends up being that visually the graphics are fairly absurd. There's just a lot of flashing, and then the animation sound is pretty terrible too.
You definitely hear it. No one wants to party with that guy. But yeah. Well, Ball Molten Shell now causes an explosion when it prevents any physical damage rather than when it takes any hit. I didn't really see the point in that. What do you guys think? What was the reason for this? They already nerfed the Ball Molten Shell pretty hard, so yeah.
I think it was just to prevent interactions with the hiltless sword and stuff like that. So they want to do other things with possible physical damage triggers.
Yeah.
And Valve Molten Shells is just a design problem. Okay. Simple as that. That's the only reason I see it.
There's that new neck that does fire damage to you when you're hit.
Yep.
What's that called? It's like off the Phoenix, I think. I think that was just one of the things that they wanted to be careful with.
We probably have to speed it up a bit. Guys.
Well, we've discussed all of these things already. Like we're just kind of going over. We could jump into the uniques.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about the biggest one, man. Bladefall Mine mechanical nerf.
Yes.
Everybody knows about it, and it's just the targeting. Like, yes, traps and poisons no longer, or mine damage and trap damage no longer double dip with poison, so that's obviously something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the second thing is the targeting of Bladefall works like all other mines, where it targets on top of itself rather than targeting an enemy. This means that for a boss killer that is mobile, you now actually have to make sure that you predict the location of it. Yeah. So this won't change like your Uber-Atziri at all, but it will change your trio.
Mm-hmm. And your trash clearing.
Yeah. Oh, the trash clearing is really where they got dicked hard.
I also have two things I want to bring up here in regards to the Ascendance skill balance changes. Unrelenting now has 25% chance to gain maximum charges instead of 100% every time you gain an endurance charge. That's a pretty big nerf. It makes it significantly less interesting to play self-cast discharge. can still be done, but it's definitely not as interesting. I think this was because there was a few builds that just could heavily abuse this mechanic.
Any Juggernaut had permanent Immortal Claw if they really wanted.
Yes.
I don't think that's
destroyed the Mjolnir Endurance Charge Discharge.
I think it's a shame. I mean, I can understand it. It was the problem with Immortal Call here, but it was a much more interesting mechanic when it was 100%. I feel.
Well, this is a situation where it needed to be nerfed because it allowed you to just immune all physical damage in the entirety of the game for unlimited duration.
It doesn't have to be that. You could have nerfed Immortal Call or have it had a different.
Well, what I was going to say is this is a situation where people do want Burning Discharge, and realistically, I think activating Burning Discharge from a design side would make more sense through a unique than an ascendancy.
Yeah, it could. Yeah,
a unique can then do the penalties a little bit better and not screw up stupid things. Yeah. So I would say the idea is something we want. We have to admit that it caused huge balance problems, but maybe we should desire that in some unique form.
Yeah, true. And then there's, of course, the Shaper of Desolation that has been changed. A very big change to the Elementalist.
Yeah, slower map clear because you're not going to have to ignite Prolif the entire time, but higher single target damage because you'll be able to ignite regardless of kills and shock regardless of kills.
So, guys, let's head into uniques. I think that's going to be one of the
fun times,
yeah. We are going to start with... I'm going to turn off the gameplay here, and we're going to start with unique number 1 that was presented to us here. The Witchfire Brew Step Knight Flask. It's a Step Knight Flask. It gives you 67% increased damage over time during Flask effects. It has 2 uses, generally. And then it also grants a level 21 Vulnerability Curse aura during Flask effects. What do you guys think?
It's an all-around okay flask. Definitely see it being used with, AoE skills that are based around your character. You could use this with Sweep. You could use this with Cleave. You could use this with Blade Vortex. It's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful.
This flask would allow Essence Drain Contagion characters to essentially drop Reservation on 1 curse.
Yes, and that's the thing with this. It doesn't. It's still. If you still have to unreserve that curse spot, right?
Yes.
It's not going to allow you to have multiple curses without.
No, it doesn't. If this flask read, you can have 1 additional curses on enemies, I would be flipping the table.
That would be absolutely insane.
This flask is going to shine on builds where you're using a curse on hit setup to generate charges like Assassin's Mark, whatever, for your general clear, and then you get to that boss and you switch to and you get a free vulnerability without having to change anything. It's not a flask that I would say is broken, but the builds who like this flask save a lot.
Yes.
The only thing to keep in mind is you can't get quality, so you do lose a bit in terms of some of the fizz builds. Like a 10%, which is significant.
Yeah, I guess. It's overall, I think it's a cool flask. It opens up for some possibilities, allows you to design your build a little differently, take that into consideration. Doesn't feel super OP, but it's strong.
And the penalty of 50% increased charges, you're 10 to 15. You're a Stib Knight. You are fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you can use the flask twice, there's a high chance that people will use it.
Yeah. All right, let's go for the next one there, guys. We have a Voidwalker, the boots, and it is an evasion and energy shield base. Gives you
These drop off Shaper.
This is Shaper items, yeah. 30% movement speed, and then 20% chance to avoid projectiles while facing, and you have facing if you've killed recently. Projectile spears while facing. What do you think?
It was asked because this phrasing hasn't been had the 20% increased chance to avoid projectiles. It doesn't say evade. It doesn't say some of the other phrasings. This is a more multiplier to your evasion stat.
Okay.
So whatever your, let's say I had a 30% chance to evade, then you get a 42%.
Yeah.
Sorry, 36. My bad, math hard.
For you, probably. No. What would you use this over?
I personally, I think it's underwhelming. I mean, you can make a really cool looking build. Yeah, I mean, when you have
people underwhelming. It has projectiles pierce, which means any build that would want projectile piercing, like any of the essence
pierce
strain
on the
build
right
that
side
has
is so easy to get.
I waste on an essence strain build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points to get that stupid thing.
Okay, on your one particular build, but like I'm thinking,
what about all the Juggernaut builds that want pierce?
Yeah, that has no life. I mean, look at its resource. It's evasion energy shield. It's got no life. You have to compete with at Series Step and Skyforce, and what other good boots are there? There's the lab boots with the extra endurance charge. I would prefer that. I mean, when I saw these, I was like, it's okay. You can make a sick looking build, but I feel like it's going to have low like effective health.
Do we know if it works with Drill Neck? Does it basically grant you 100% PS chains?
Yes.
Okay, so it also scales.
But you never go about 100. You never count as above 100% on Drill Neck if you're not aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very simply great for boots who have to invest a decent amount into pierce. Now, its armor energy shield, obviously, if it had a life roll, it would be fairly interesting for more builds. But the 41 dexterity is also perfect for the builds who are skipping going to pierce.
Yeah.
It's a very specific item.
Mm-hmm. I think I like it because it's specific.
Yeah.
With the Ranger and the Shadow really struggling with life, it's hard for me to see something like this being used successfully in red maps. I'm not doubting a lot of the mechanics are very cool, but I'm thinking you're going to have something like a 5k life pool, in a slot where you desperately
just sacrificing boots. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I consider hybrid, I consider CI, I consider low life. Right. In which case,
I would rather
they already
space.
Yeah, I think in general this is wonderful for ES based casters or even ES-based bows, because now, let's say you're doing an energy shield bow build and you want Valpact, you're starting a Pathfinder. You don't need to go outside the outer wheel to get the pierce nodes. You can go right through the Valpact into the Shadow start, and that's going to save you probably about 10 points. I think it's not insane, but it has a purpose.
I think for casters using pierce, I think they have a place, but for bow users, I don't think I would use them. I
would use them for bow CI. I would use this for like a caustic arrow, for example.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But for the most part, then when we're talking about like pure life based, I can definitely see that's a tougher call.
That's too much of a downside compared to what else. All right, next one, guys. Interesting item though. Unending Hunger. This is the new jewel. Minions have 8% increased radius of area, skills, and 20% chance for specters to gain Soul Eater on kill for 30 seconds. What? They could just when specters have permanence. Soul Eater.
The thing to keep in mind about the mechanic is if you have, and very few people got to really play with something like Xerxes used, like me and Edgy did.
Oh man.
So with Soul Eater, keep in mind these things. No soul can be consumed by multiple mobs. So if you have 3 minions, they're going to essentially take turns consuming souls. Okay. They aren't all 3 going to go God mode that fast. Every specter you have will lower the speed of the power of the other ones. A Soul Eater for every mob that you kill gives you 5% or 4 or 5%. It's 4 or 5% physical damage reduction, resists, attack speed, and cast speed for every single mob. Mm-hmm. If you have multiple stacks of Soul Eater, which you can gain, the new stacks of Soul Eater don't work and will then continue at the end of the first Soul Eater. So let's say you have a Soul Eater for 30 seconds. At the end of that Soul Eater buff, even if you have a second buff that let's say has 15 seconds left on it because it was triggered halfway through, that main buff disappearing will get rid of all your souls and they go back to 1. And then you're actually going to only have 15 seconds for the next Soul Eater because of the buffs don't restart.
So you just want to have one Spectre boss, basically, to have no
It
downside.
would make the most... Well, not necessarily, but yeah. You would, if you want to make the strongest Spectre possible, you would have 1.
It doesn't seem like it's limited to 1 either, but I mean...
Yes, but that would only increase your chance. And then it has minion area of effect, which is a very, very, very powerful stat that I was not expecting.
The first thing I thought of was Evangelists, the explosions, and then I was thinking the ribbons that cast Fireball. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if players got the Fireball buff, doesn't that mean the minions get the Fireball buff too?
Nah, because they're they're using their own fireballs, I think.
GGG's been very, very inconsistent about that. It's like like when they nerfed Arc and when they nerfed Spark, there was the minion damage to some degree. And now when they buffed, for example, like Detonate Dead still uses the old 50% Fizz, 50% Fire. So that's maybe is the answer. There is no deterministic way of saying without just asking.
Okay. I mean, either way, those are 2 excellent Spectres that could use this.
Yeah. Let's try the next one here. The Warden's Brain. Oh, yeah. It's an Iron Ring. Requires level 30. Adds 15 to 31 physical damage to attacks, and it goes up to 50. So 15 to 50. 30% reduced attack speed, and then 15% chance to gain a frenzy charge when you stun an enemy. Hedgie, what do you think?
I think excellent for Pillar Earthquake. Like this item to me screams Pillar Earthquake because you can deal with the reduced attack speed, and that amount of flat fizz is ridiculous. I'm doubtful that I want to play it with Facebreaker because Facebreaker already struggles with attack speed, so...
I would play this with Facebreaker.
This is obviously Facebreaker Pillar.
Facebreaker, Abysses, and then I would find some way to wear a Bringer of Rain as well, somehow, just for the flat fizz.
You will need resist jewels.
Yes, I will need resist jewels. But, oh my god. The amount of flat fizz you get on this is insane.
It kind of goes with the same thing that I worry about, when you use a ring without life on an already low life character. Is that something that you're willing to sacrifice? I mean, it's going to be an insane amount of upfront damage, no doubt about that, but you're already struggling to get life, and that's another slot that you're losing life and resist.
Facebreaker, Meganords, this ring, Abyssus Helmet, the rolls you would need are pretty fucking ridiculous.
Exactly. I mean, I'd rather use a 7 to 15 and attack speed or resist and life ring for a Facebreaker build. But for Pillar, I would be willing to make the sacrifice because it's insane.
Imagine putting this on an Ice Crash build that doesn't necessarily rely that much on your attack speed. I really think it's going to be powerful for things.
And level 30 requirement. This is an insane leveling ring.
It's absolutely insane for leveling. But of course, 30% is a big downside. But you then maybe this actually allows some builds who previously wouldn't be able to get a frenzy charge. If you can then all of a sudden get 4, 5 frenzy charges, then you make up for some of that lost attack speed as well and more damage. Obviously, you have to, of course, stun in order to get that, but still.
That wouldn't be a problem with either of those builds.
No.
It's done.
It definitely should be good. Next up, guys, is the Scourge. And this one is kind of interesting. It's a Terra Claw, and it has decent attack speed and all this stuff. But the interesting is that minions have 10% increased attack speed. It's a minion weapon here. 10% chance to summon a Spectral Wolf on kill, and they buff those, by the way. Increases and reductions to minion damage, also affects you. And then 70% increased minion damage if you have hit recently. PT, what are you thinking?
This is one of my favorite uniques that I've seen in a long time. Now, I don't think it's going to be fantastic. I played around with the Wolf Ring, and I think the wolf buffs are still going to be terrible. Maybe there was a couple more buffs that we didn't know about. The idea of being able to scale your minion damage is a lot of fun. Dominating Blow comes to mind.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought as well.
Obviously, but then I'm just like, does getting just minion damage going to be able to allow you to use this claw in an interesting way? And ultimately, I think no.
I'm just thinking that with Dominating Blow, finally you feel like you can scale the damage of your own upfront attack.
But the problem becomes, like, minion damage support is a more multiplier, not an increased, which means it's not going to affect your hit. If they allowed more of the minion damage stats to scale you, not necessarily all of them, because you could break some things, I'm worried that the claw's too weak to actually meaningfully buff yourself with minion damage.
Mm-hmm. I guess.
Let's see, like the wording on it kind of confuses me, like, and I doubt it works this way, but Spirit Offering gives you what, a 29% extra physical damage as extra chaos damage to your minions. Does that
no, because it's very specific. Increased minion damage and reduced minion damage. Those are the keywords they've chosen.
I was gonna say it would be kind of insane if you could run Spirit Offering with this and get that for yourself, like the chaos damage for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like it needed... It has a lot of minion damage on it, by the way, like 70% minion damage. That's quite fantastic.
It's a lot of skill notes.
Yeah. I'm just... When I'm trying to think of something outside of the obvious use it for minion damage, I'm like, I don't think it has enough stats. And it's a claw. Of all the bases to try to make melee work for minion damage, it's a claw.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the shortest melee range, weapon range, name locking.
I think it can work, but whether or not it's like necessarily better than anything else, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's from the one that we can see with 20% DPS, it's 232. So 232 with 6.3 crit. It's still going to be very challenging to score kills, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of cool because you have a new way to socket your gems. Especially minion damage being a blue gem, that kind of frees up a lot of the stress that you would have to get, reds and stuff in like ES gear or hybrid gear.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, the Putrid Cloister. It's the new map. I decided to take that into this as well. What do you guys think here? It's the curse map basically. It's the one where you can put on the jewel and basically, isn't it 10% damage per curse you are affected with, and then go rampage?
Yes. This is the museum layout. Someone did run it in my chat, and you should know divination cards, valuable ones, drop here.
Yeah.
Like
my
what?
favorite,
corrupted headhunters.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. There's now. Yeah.
My favorite thing about this map is flavor text. Please take out your blades, your whips, and your spikes. Class is now in session. It just sounds like you're going to get your ass kicked. I mean, look at that. It's amazing. I actually haven't seen what it looks like inside, but
I was warned moderately difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But that's big as shit, so...
Yeah.
All I know was they did get a corrupted headhunters card in this run, and some other very, very valuable cards.
Okay. Next up is the Starforge Infernal Sword.
Fuck!
This, guys. Okay, first of all, take a look at the damage here. This is just 486% increased physical damage here. It is on an Infernal Sword, so it has the implicit of 30% accuracy rating. 6% increased attack speed, we don't know what it goes to. 91 life on the sword here. 20% increased area of effect for attacks. Deal no elemental damage. And to top it off, your physical damage can shock. So I feel like PT, you want to start with this.
So this is a 700 Fizz DPS sword, and it doesn't have quality.
Yeah.
I'm just double checking.
And that should be it.
I always
that
forget
should be it.
The quality We'll make it 840, or does the quality make it like 7 whatever? Because the quality doesn't stack on top of the implicit fizz; it multiplies it, right?
I think
so
it's 730. That's the max roll.
Yeah, so this becomes like an 840 to 870 two-hand sword.
Oh no, yeah. Quality isn't as effective if it doesn't have the flat. It has to have the flat, not the. It goes off of its space.
Oh, okay, so it only ends up being like about like a 730. Yes.
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you're saying.
So the thing is, you could have left the item here, and it would still be good with the damage.
I mean, like, look at this item and then look at the boots and get back to me. Like, how does it drop off of the same boss? Like,
Well, there you could make the same thing of disfavor versus the helm, the vertex.
I think the Vertex is a great item, man.
And I think those boots are a great item, but the vertex is specific to specific types. The boots are specific to the specific types, and this sword is a pile of vomit of power. It's just this congealing mess of power that's like, okay, that's a thing.
Maybe
My problem with this sword here. Well, first
Why
of all,
does it have life and area of effect?
Yes, I want the sword, but exactly, the problem is, why does it have area, and why does it have life? It's like they've just said this sword needs to have everything you want, and lots of it. It's insane. This sword.
Maybe it's so good that its intent was to kill you to reflect over and over again.
But
there's just so much damage.
Oh,
I mean, one thing's for sure. When I see this sword, it's like nothing but greatness. But then I also think about, okay, 2 characters that could handle this power and not die to reflect would probably be the Slayer and Juggernaut. I wouldn't play this on a Ranger and get wrecked. If you could stack as much avoidance as you want, much dodge.
You could do Ice Crash to tone your damage down.
Ice Crash.
This is the way of not dying to reflect. The thing is, if you found the sword, you would make a build around it. I mean, it's not build enabling because it doesn't do anything.
I disagree.
But
I disagree. This sword is definitely build enabling because you could do elemental hit with it.
You can do everything. Yeah, I guess.
This sword is.
So
it's absolutely insane. Absolutely.
You could use with this. I mean, that are
fizz, like sweep,
lacerate, sweep. Those are 2 really good choices.
Wild strike.
I mean, non-elementals, so we're trying to avoid that. And obviously, it's incentivizing you to incorporate bleed.
Single target Viper Strike. This would do insane damage with Viper Strike.
Anything chaos related. This is insane. Like, I see this and my jaw drops.
It's a stupid sword. It's a fucking stupid sword.
I am curious to see what the drop rate is.
It's probably the highest tier of...
over the flask that we're going to look at?
I think this is more insane than the flask. I think this is more insane than the flask, but we'll get to the flask.
I disagree.
Well, I can just mute you. I can just mute you.
You can. You can also sodomize yourself with break.
Yes.
It's purple. That's why it's OP.
The thing is here. This is baffling to all of us. But the sword is just a high damage dealing sword that does everything. There's not too much more to talk about. It just does everything well. Let's move on because
Are we doing the flask?
No, we're doing the Shaper's Touch right now. Crusader Gloves, Armor Energy Shield Base, and 1 life per 4 dexterity, 1 mana per 4 strength, 1% increased energy shield per 10 strength, 1% evasion rating per 10 intelligence, and 1% increased melee physical damage per 10 dexterity. Oh, and 2 accuracy per 2 intelligence, I forgot that. What do you guys think here?
I looked at this item and I was just like, wow, how would I utilize all these properties.
Yeah.
And it's like, is this the unique that's supposed to be dedicated to the Scion? Like, I was like, okay, we have this two-handed sword that's like, it could be considered the Slayer item.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the Raider item, you have Juggernaut.
Keep in mind that just 400 dexterity, which on dexterity builds is fairly easy to achieve, is 100 flat life on these gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
thinking of
physical damage.
Yeah, and it would give you 100%, or sorry, it's 10 and 40% increased physical damage. When I take a quick look at it, the dexterity scaling is pretty nuts.
Seems like the strongest one, and you can definitely do builds that are evasion, energy shield based. So if you go into the intelligence part of the tree, could potentially work. Well, then you do strength.
You also have Iron Will makes strength increase your energy shield. Which is
Iron Will
and
usually
mana per
goes
strength.
RF, you could use Pillar the Cage God and be affected by all of it.
Get it, you like Pillar.
I'm just talking about like stats. If you're gonna use an Astramantis, if you're gonna use Death Soul, things with all stats.
True.
How do we utilize all that? And those are the two uniques that come to mind. Yeah. Astramantis, I guess 3 uniques: Death Oath and Pillar. And you could, use all those stats technically, but is it really worth it?
That's the problem. Outside of Dex, it's looking very hard to really make it valuable. And unique gloves are quite the competitive slot, as rares are very nice too. And when we have essences, which create some pretty sexy gloves.
Mm-hmm. It's compared to the sword though, it's an interesting item, right?
Yes, this one, it does seem like it's abusable. This one's a very interesting one. I like the gloves. I like the boots because they had care put in. They had interest. They wanted to make an interesting nuke. That sword can suck a dick.
That sword is the exact sword I would make if I just wanted to make a unique and have the most strong thing in the game. This is what
makes
I want.
Reddit uniques that people throw up when they're like, "Is this overpowered?" And they're like,
"Hey guys, wouldn't it be nice if we have top roll life and AoE and damage and..."
Uniques are not supposed to be best in slot. Well-rolled rare is supposed to be better.
You have to really roll a good rare to top that. I don't think it's
with
possible.
the area of effect, no.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
All right.
This is another map here. Hollowed Ground, graveyard map, tier 4. Item quantity 100%, item rarity 100%. Unique drop or unique boss drops 3 additional maps. 2,000% increased experience gain, and 0.5 flash charges recovered every 3 seconds. Monster level 78 in a tier 4 map. There's a lot of experience.
I'm assuming it's going to be. Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be very similar to Death and Taxes.
The thing is, the interesting thing here probably is that the experience you gain will be based off a tier 4 map monster level, or is it the other way around?
No,
they do it so
the
that
monster level are 78.
So you get 2,000% off monster level 78.
Yes.
But doesn't this just seem like a super fast way to level in?
Well, that's why we're assuming that there's just shit mob density, because Untainted Paradise is 300?
But it's a graveyard map.
In this map, there's just nothing but bosses. It's like an eerie prison. You walk in, and there are different wings. One wing, there's Vol, Hillock, Cole, Brutus, Jungle Valley boss, and the Overgrown Ruin boss, which is like the Fidelitas. Okay. You fight all those, and I think you fight Dual, Cole, and Brutus at the same time, and they're the last. And it's just you go around killing bosses at a higher tier.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. It looks kind of celestial outside of the prison. Okay. It's got a different feeling. But yeah, there's no trash in there, so you don't have to worry about, oh my god. You're definitely going to be rewarded for boss killing, though.
It's going to be the new Gorge. Just on steroids.
So the next Poor Droids. No.
Did you play it, Hedgie, or have you just seen it?
No, I watched a YouTube video. I was really interested.
Okay.
what was going on here.
So we don't know anything about difficulty level here.
It looks somewhat difficult, but I mean, those bosses that I just listed are the ones that are inside. So
You said Hillock and what more?
Vol, Hillock, the Jungle Valley boss, the spider that does EK, and Overgrown Ruin boss, Fidelitas.
Okay.
And then you have Cole and Brutus together, I think, with haste auras. So they're like chaining you, whipping you back. It's
Nice.
kind of intense.
Cool.
Yeah, you should check it out.
I'm looking forward to trying that.
Well, actually, I don't know if it's Cole and Brutus, but there's like an image where he like duplicates himself and then he disappears and then he comes back. So there's some kind of weird mechanic with that fight.
Shadow Cole.
Yeah, it's
Shadow
like
Cole. It's like the least sneaky person in the world. It's like
Suddenly,
fucking
Stealth Cole. What?
It's like turning fucking Hodor into a rogue. All right, let's go. Next year, Dying Sun. All right, this is interesting, guys. It's a ruby flask. We don't need to explain what that does. 3% reduced charges used. 30% increased area of effect during flask effect, and 2% additional projectiles during flask effects.
The reduced charges can be divided down to 10%. So
Okay.
it can be 10% reduced charged.
Okay.
And the area of effect and the additional projectiles are modified by flask effectiveness, meaning that if you have 50% flask effectiveness, Pathfinder, you will get 3 additional projectiles and 45% increased area of effect.
I love that with the flask effects, you can actually reach that. I'm not sure if the item, it seems pretty OP, but it's really cool that with the flask effects that you can reach that. That's a cool mechanic. Hedgie, what are you
pretty
thinking
OP.
about this?
It's really OP. It's like the trifecta is complete. You have Taste of Hate, Dying Sun, and Vinctors. There you go. I mean, I guess Interior Flask would be the Chaos Resist, but it's not really the Elemental. But this thing is godly. I mean,
If you're playing Fireball, you have everything here to prevent Reflect, area of effect, extra projectiles.
I was going to say, if you're playing Fireball with this, kill yourself.
yeah, it's like, why play Fireball when you can do EA? I mean, EA.
Yeah,
No,
I guess
this-
EA, yeah.
This flask, you can... The normal area of effect that you pick up from Witch and Templar totals to 35%. Or, sorry.
30?
Yeah, 35%.
Okay.
This flask is not the god tier of defense. You know, the defensive flasks we've seen that have been god tier have been Roomies, on pre-nerfed Vinctors. Even the current Vinctors is insane, and Taste of Hate. In terms of clear speed and builds that can use it, I don't think we've ever seen an item like this. This is for everything but arc.
It's the numbers that seem...
Even if the flask just gave 2 additional projectiles, that would have been a unique flask, but
Even if
Oh
it just
my
gave
God.
you 10% increased area of effect, it would be
Like,
worth...
enjoy your Blade Vortex cost, guys, because
It's,
with flask effectiveness, as a Pathfinder, you know, the Pathfinder flask build, this gives you as much area of effect on the flask alone as you get from all the area of effect on the tree in the Templar region, even if you could stretch there, and Carcass Jack.
yeah.
And it gives you 2 projectiles, so if you have a cast 1 damage, take an Arctic Breath, then you also get a better chill radius or whatever you have going that way.
Mm-hmm.
Kinetic Blast, Explosive Arrow, Ball Lightning, everything. Essence Drain. Oh, dear
The
God.
thing is, of course, what it competes with in terms of other flasks. But it's just hard to see if you can utilize projectiles in your build. And if
Even
you,
just area of effect, though. That's
Yeah.
a lot of area of effect.
it's hard to see what really can fully complete with it.
I think this will be. I think this item is probably the equivalent to the series Acuity as far as like the rarity. I think the sword is going to be the rarest, like the axe. I think this will be the second tier down, and then the other ones will
Probably.
be common.
Would make sense.
Maybe the gloves will be the flask equivalent, or not the flask, the vertex equivalent, and then the other one was like the garb.
What I don't really like about it is that this is gonna make certain ascendancy classes more interesting and CI, for instance, more appealing. Like, if you can go Pathfinder with this...
You don't need to be a Pathfinder, though.
No, you don't need to,
yeah.
but it just... You're already making good use of flasks with this. It's just so much more insane. CI as well allows you to have those extra flasks.
It's kind of a shame because this would be kind of cool with like an RF self-casting fireball, but if you ever use this flask with that build, you will get made fun of so hard. You'll be like, do you know what you're doing?
I would love to see this on Righteous Fire.
But also this just becomes one of those items where you're going to see, like, check out my build that can do this, and then it's going to be like, well, you have the flask. No shit, you can do that.
100 Exalt flask.
And then it's going to be the same thing, like, hey guys, how do I make my build? Every build, get the flask.
Yeah.
What should I start saving for? The flask.
Yeah. It is pretty sick.
Because you don't have to kill the Shaper. Someone else has to kill the Shaper, and you just have to just flip shit on PoE trade or just farm Dried Lake for Alks and Chaos and complete the recipes. Use Essence Orbs, which I think a lot of people might have missed. Use Essences on items to complete Chaos recipes. And, this flask is... It's not even interesting. What is the most valuable stat that any build would want? Area of effect? Projectiles.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, and projectiles is... If you don't have area of effect on a projectile build, that's how you scale its indirect area of effect. Now you have both. So
broken.
Look, I think then maybe similar to the sword rights, maybe the design intent is to simply, like we've heard this before, maybe they want some super OP items during a league. And then
I think this is the TV meta, because I can guarantee you this goes really well with watching TV.
Oh, the TV. Yeah, we will have to cut that out.
Oh man. I'm crying.
This flask, especially with... Okay, so this flask on a sword Pathfinder going crit gives you, with that sword, 65% increased area of effect.
That's fitting.
Without the area of effect gem, Carcass Jack, or any area of effect on the tree, on the side of the passive tree that literally can't get any area of effect. Oh, this flask is special.
Well, I mean, maybe they're really trying to incentivize people getting enough currency, trying to kill the Shaper. I have my doubts that we'll see many of them in hardcore and softcore. I'm sure there'll be many. But...
Well, the one thing that I was very interested in, I didn't get an answer yet, when you had the Atziri had punishment if you had extra players in the instance. Is this boss going to? Because we know what Orobots can do. And as much as we might want to talk about the difficulty of it in hardcore, Orobots do special things. Not a lot of people will farm it, and then softcore becomes maybe a bit more disappointing. I'm obviously talking outside of my comfort zone, but this then becomes the, hey, is build Shaper viable so that I can farm my fucking 150 Exalt Flask?
To be fair, that could make it more interesting as well.
I think it's a good idea to incentivize extremely challenging fights so that we don't avoid it. But there's a difference between creating clever incentivization for us to want to do it and then just fucking everybody in the ass on your build, being like, hey guys, what's my flask? This flask. How do I make my bit this flask? What should I replace? This flask.
Yeah.
The answer to everything, this flask. This has so much area of effect.
It is, yeah.
When they ask for a build link, you just link them to the wiki of this flask.
This is the build.
But when I'm thinking about builds, how often are you making a build that you go into the Templar area just because of area of effect and you try to make everything else an excuse?
Yeah.
Or you go into the witch area just for area of effect and everything else is really an excuse to justify it. Where this gives you more area of effect than both.
True. It's like, I don't think anyone is, we all know, but I don't think anyone is debating this is OP. This is gonna be overpowered in that sense. But my question then is still, guys, what do you think about the idea of having OP items for a league like this? Because I'm not doubting that GGG
This isn't
knows
league
this.
specific though. This is Atlas.
Yeah, it's true. But GGG definitely
game.
knows this. It's not like they're ignorant in the design of this item. They also know the sword is absolutely insane. So I'm just think there's a reason for that. And I guess they really want to incentivize that shaper fight.
Drugs.
They show you this in hopes that you will get a hard on and play till you like can't sleep anymore.
To be fair, it works. I'm gonna grind that shaper if I can.
Good luck. I mean,
I'm here solo self-found with a life build being like, well, fuck me. Because,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, another thing that we should probably mention is that they nerfed ghost busting. So if you were in hopes of accumulating a lot of currency to buy one of these items, you might have to rethink the way you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a look at the other one. We have two left here, guys.
By the way, sorry. I was going to say, for those who aren't aware, the divination chests, the diviner's chests, do drop an absurd amount of drop rates of divination cards that have allowed things like at series disfavor 8 of them on softcore already.
Yeah, that was a bug. I think that was recently.
Hopefully, they're still dropping a lot of cards, but
was
I
it
didn't see a
actually
hot
dropped,
fix about it.
There was a guy who got full at Siri disfavor.
But yeah, so no advantage for being able to log in the first 6 hours whatsoever. None whatsoever.
All right. Cosper's Malice, guys. One-hand sword, dual foil. Yeah. No physical damage. Adds a nice amount of cold. Adds a nice amount of cold to spells. 9% increased attack speed. 270 or 57 plus intelligence requirements. And 60% increased critical strike chains against shelled enemies. And then the very unique thing about it, similar to like a Mjolnir, so maybe not too unique, cast a socket cold skill on melee critical strike. What are you guys thinking? OP, good, bad?
I think it's kind of cool. I tried playing around with the tree, and again, I just really struggled getting good life, and I worry about getting all the accuracy crit that you need. Reddit has coined this unique as Kolner. So
I guess.
I mean, it's kind of cool. I see some interactions. I mean, the obvious choice seems to be dual wield with Cyclone, or just Cyclone with the shield. Or I think a much more interesting choice might be trying it with Lacerate with dual wield. I think that could be kind of cool. But
we know what the millisecond between each cast is for this one.
It's 0.1.
It's 100.
0.1, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
different.
similar to Mjolnir.
Yeah. It has special treatment as far as it doesn't abide by typical COC rules.
Okay.
It does go in sequence, so there's that. And I was reading an interesting thread. The original author, Lost Ark, I think it is, he intended the increased critical strike chance to be local, but I take it that it's not. It's just global.
Yeah, it has a 5.5 crit chance right now. So I'm guessing we'll see mostly assassins.
Well, you can use it as an offhand using skills that don't swing with swords. I thought it would have been interesting even to use this as enabling things.
Yeah.
Like an example would be you could use Earthquake with that on your offhand, and if you, like, let's say or maybe not Earthquake, if you're a build that was using like Elemental Overload, using it to proc just like Arctic Breath, LMP, GMP, like just do some weird things with it. That's what interested me. What? Just janky stat stick caster.
You could use it with... No, I was about to say the flask.
It does, in fact, work with the flask. Who would have thought?
But yeah,
I do think Gouda needs to rebake the Elementalist build he did and put the flask on it and clear some higher content.
I'm gonna continue with the next one, guys. We're a little time pressured here.
All right.
Brain Rattler. It's a two-handed mace, high physical damage.
That one was spoiled a long time ago. The Brain Rattlers, didn't we talk about the Snake Pit?
No. I don't think we've talked about this one here.
Okay.
I think we have.
Yeah, we did, because it came out with the Snake
Right.
Pit glove, or
Man,
the Snake Pit rings.
must
Stop
have been,
doing drugs, or else you'll design the Dying Sun flask.
This is a gate. The Brain Rattler is a gateway item to the flask. All right, that was the final unique then, guys. Do you have anything you wanna touch upon before we end today? Because we have been going on for quite a while.
Don't do drugs, kids.
I mean, some of the notable things that just kind of changed the game. We had higher XP penalties from 95 to 100. What do you guys think about that?
I like it. Yeah, makes you fight a bit more for it.
I also, yeah, I like, as someone who played a lot of the old school ARPGs, you never were supposed to get to the highest level. Mm-hmm. And
99,
you don't need to be 100, you don't need to be 99, you don't need to be 98 to do anything. So it's just for the people who want to prove that they can play so efficiently that that's reasonable, it's there for them. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. Often people have the mentality of, because it exists, I should be able to do it. And I think that's kind of it's a weird mentality for us, some of the old school players of ARPGs.
Another notable mention, curses now have a multiplier rather than a flat reduction. This has a bigger penalty for when you increase your curse effectiveness. Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about that?
Probably very, very fitting.
Yeah, I'm very happy that happened. At the very end,
I don't think it solves the problem, though, because it still trivializes all the whites, the blues, the rares. It doesn't affect unique mobs that aren't the official map boss. You have to remember that. So when you spawn Hast or you spawn warbands or any of these kind of more interactive things they're trying to do, it feels like it's a bit of a band-aid fix. Mm-hmm. Also, when you check the numbers, it's really toning you down, maybe only 15 to 20% curse effectiveness. Right. Is it a large amount? Well, yes, it is, because you go after that amount. But a mob that's still slowed 42% turns out to be pretty fucking easy to dodge. And it really is, if they design a boss that their cast speed is dodgeable with a haste buff or no haste buff, as soon as you temp change them, you've trivialized the mechanic to the boss. Mm-hmm. Because you've made that reaction time available absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. It's not quite there, but it's a step.
It is a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
But I think the good example how you compare it is, Uberatsiri. The difference between being able to survive a hit and not survive a hit is the difference between that fight being relatively trivial and that fight actually having all the balls in the world, because you don't get mistakes.
It is very true. Oh, by the way, did you guys have any? Were you affected by the launch issues at all?
I wasn't. I mean, I had one hiccup, but
I got in basically right away, and then everyone was just like, streamer queue bypass whatever in chats. I'm sure you guys read a comment like that.
Yeah.
So I logged out. Did you guys have the balls to log out?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Playing a juggernaut.
I did. Queued back in position 82,000. 2 hours later, I can play.
Yeah. And so, there was a lot of people. There was really, really long threads on the forums. People wanting a reset of the league.
I died to like I got into the game. I was testing the tutorial stuff. Ended up dying to Hillock, getting in the top 50 kills. And I was like,
we all saw that.
Yeah, It was fantastic, because what I learned was when you're trying to like trigger the tutorials and you don't have maximum flasks, fighting Hillock as the Marauder, if you get a miss chain. Like, you actually would have to kite him and try to hit him and move away between his attack animation, because I only had one flask left. I'm like, well, we're just going to die and go on. It was fantastic.
I like that clip. I love that. You guys think they should have reset it?
No.
I don't think they
Because-
should either, but holy shit, it's devastating for the people who want to race early on. This is one of the absolute most interesting and the most fun part for those specific players, being able to be the guy first to enter whatever zone, right? That is so devastating. It's probably not going to do too much near the end if you're racing 200, but still.
No, the 100 race, but then again, how many people ended up doing the 100 race last time? Look who's kind of already quit, who used to do the 100 race. Yeah. And that's definitely not a huge effect. But when we talk about like the divination card from the diviner's chest abuse, that's something that's only going to last, 18 to 48 hours. And tons of people do reorganize their days. We don't know the percentage of the people that had issues. What I don't get is, yes, they will have server problems. Do a 2-hour event before the launch goes up with the new patch up so that everybody's in the game and that's your bug test, then start the league. Yeah. Because you will immediately know what the problem is.
Mm-hmm. It will definitely work. I'm just afraid if they had reset, like there's a lot of people on Twitch and a lot of actual people who would like that. But imagine being new to this game. You just started a new league, and 6 hours later they reset it.
Yeah, but imagine being new to the game, completing quests and not seeing your quest rewards.
Yeah, exactly. that kind of sucks as well. But
and there's no different font. There's nothing that says like it's tiered where you know it, but you just completed quests. You didn't get quest rewards. Maybe someone's new to the game, still using fucking Heavy Strike and is in Act 2, like Bob the Builder special, and just quit the game that way.
A reset would have pissed off more people than it would have made people happier.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
Imagine finding a gold rim and then you're like, all right, server's resetting, league's resetting, and you're like, what the fuck?
Exactly, and especially if you don't understand what the hell just happened here. But yeah, so
it either way, it's one of those. The fuck up has to be prevented before it starts. Like there needs to be something to make sure stuff like that happens. Because resetting, there's such huge negative consequences, and not resetting, does affect a ton of people as well. Both sides lose.
Besides that, I actually think it's been running very smooth. I haven't had any lockstep stutter or anything like that. It's been running very well for me. Other than that, right in the beginning. Guys, we're done for today. We'll be back again on next Sunday. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. If you like the podcast, if you're new to it, give the channel a follow. The video, the bot, will be uploaded to Hegemony's YouTube either early tomorrow or some hours away from this. It depends on how long it takes to render. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we leave?
No, I'm just going to go to some dried lake farming as soon as this ends.
Yes, well, I'm going to send you guys over to PT now, so you now get the chance to yell at him for being critical or just yell at him in general. Yeah. Go do that.
Send all complaints to me.
All right.
And fuck the dying sun.
Just praise the sun.
No, fuck the sun.
All right. Thank you very much for hanging out,
Edgy.
guys. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll be back streaming again tomorrow myself. I'll see you guys there.
See you, man. That was fun.